Welcome to the Tuning In podcast, where we talk alignment, intuition, and our internal guidance system. We cover woo-woo topics in an approachable and practical way. I'm your host, Dana Evans of Alignful.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. So excited to have you all here today. Man, I'm enjoying these episodes lately. They're kind of just like flowing out of me, which is super fun when I have that alignment. I'm sure you've experienced that as well. And I do think that part of it is finding my own rhythm during quarantine. And I shared some of that a couple episodes ago, my new quarantine routines. And I just am really settling in. Things are feeling good. And what I've done recently, I think I shared this last week, but I'm kind of stepping up in my own self. And I'm taking on some new programs and participating in some more things that are more like CEO type projects. So trying to get a hold on my time management and how I spend my time and energy, and really focusing on my own high level tasks that are more important, like recording the podcast, creating great content for Instagram, growing my newsletter, my email list for Beauty Counter. I'm starting a safer skincare email list, and my mom and I are doing this together. We're thinking of calling it counterintelligence. And it's a joke because Beauty Counter, all of their products are like counter match, counter time, counter control, and it's Beauty Counter. And so my dad had this funny idea to call it counterintelligence, because it's actually not just about Beauty Counter. It's more of a safer skin, safer home, and beauty tips, tools, and practices email. And once a month, I'll be sending that out, and I might have a video like my face massage technique that I use, or I might have some ingredient spotlights, like why do we care about vitamin C? Like, what does it do? How is it good for us? Or why do we not want to have sulfates in our products? How are those harmful? What don't they do for us? So yeah, we're creating this content. And again, that just feels really aligned and really fun. And that's more of a high level task that I can be working on, that's working on building the business, right? And engaging with people and helping that. And then I have virtual assistant, Kyler. She's amazing. And she helps me with all the other stuff because I have tons and tons of things on my list. And if I do all those small tasks, then I don't have time to really create for the bigger picture of the business. So it's a really beautiful relationship. And I'm learning through the programs that I'm in right now to really step up and do some of those higher level tasks more often, like 80% of the time, and then be a better manager and delegator to get those other tasks done, because they're still important, right? But I'm not the only one who can do them. So it's really fun. It's a really fun system I'm working with, and just up leveling. And due to that, some of you may have seen this on my Instagram account at Dana_Evans. Earlier this week, I was sharing how for almost a week and a half now, I was waking up every day with like anxiety would be the right description, with a lot of tightness in my chest, a lot of discomfort, uneasiness, shortness of breath, and just, not great. And I would use my practices, my tools, beanbag sessions, the emotional release sessions. I know how to move through that stuff, but it does not mean it wasn't affecting me. It totally was. I was definitely being more reactive in my relationships because of this inner turmoil. But to me, there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually my interpretation. What did we talk about last week, guys? The stories we tell ourselves, right? My interpretation of this anxiety is I'm up leveling. Like, I'm stepping out of my own comfort zone. And because of that, my ego, my mind gets really freaked out. It's like, this isn't safe. What are you doing? You can't help people one-on-one. Who do you think you are? You're failing. You don't know enough. And it tries to pull me back. So one of my biggest practices is just letting the anxiety speak, letting that come up, and sharing what it needs to share and then releasing it and not holding on to that story. So yeah, I've been sitting with tightness in the chest for a good week and a half. I didn't wake up with it today or yesterday, which was really nice. So either I'm moving through that or it's just taking a break. But just know that if that's coming up from you, there are many interpretations of anxiety, and you don't have to just take on that label and identify with it. You can see through it and you can see what it's there to show you, and it's okay if it's there. It can be there and also not debilitate you. We can work with it and work through it and breathe with it, and not just attach to that identity of I'm anxious, I have anxiety, and then let the mind just freak out and not slow down, go deeper, and really check in as to what's really going on beneath the surface. Because if we just avoid it, it's going to be persistent. But if we let it speak up, if we let it share what it's worried and fearful about, then it gets to be heard. It's like, you don't just want to shush the kid every time it tries to talk and suppress them, I suppose. Maybe that's not a great example, but let it be heard. Let the emotions be felt. That's how we move through them. We can't just shut them down and run away, because then they're still there. They're still persisting, and often they get louder. So that's just a little of my own experience, and the beanbag sessions that I host with people, especially if you have anxiety coming up. Those one-to-one beanbag sessions are really helpful for that, because anxiety tends to harbor itself really directly in the body. Like for me, it was very clearly tightness in the chest. So to be able to go to that space and speak to it and ask it what it needs and let it identify itself is a really helpful way to start to release it. And it doesn't necessarily happen automatically. It's a practice, but we all go through ebbs and flows of when we're feeling different ways. And I do find those beanbag sessions are really, really helpful to release that. Okay, well, that was a tangent. Thanks for listening. So this week, though, we are talking about following the nudges. Oh, this is so much fun. Also known as your intuition, also known as the universe, also known as your inner voice. And I'm just sharing a different perspective on the inner voice and how you could actually tap into that. And I share some really, really fun stories about my own experiences with following the nudges and what unfolded. So without further ado, here's this week's episode. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy Woo-Woo Wednesday. So, I'm so excited to talk to you guys today. Today, I want to talk about following the nudges. That is my favorite way of describing what we experience when we just feel like this sensation, this feeling, this calling, or this guidance to do something, or when we ask about something and then we see guidance or we receive it from externally. So as you know, because you are loyal, amazing, beautiful listeners, I talk about the inner voice all the time. But I thought it might help you to hear it from a different perspective. So first of all, we all have a different primary inner voice type. And I'm actually putting together a quiz so that you can determine yours. So you guys will be the first to know when that quiz is done, and you can get your own test results for these 5 primary types of inner voices. But one of the types is associated with a nudge, or also known as a sign from the universe. So they're not one and the same, and they're not also mutually exclusive, but I'm going to use them in a couple different ways. So your inner voice can communicate through signs or sudden inspiration. You have also heard me talk about inspired action. This is what we're talking about. And that's really, really useful to know that that is a part of you communicating with yourself. Your higher self, right, is communicating to you with this inspired action and with these signs that you're seeing or receiving. So have you ever thought of someone only then to receive a text or call from them moments later? Or you've called someone because you were inspired to, and they pick up and say, "Oh my God, I was just thinking of you," or "I was just picking up my phone to call you." And Maybe you suddenly had the urge to message someone only to find out they had the exact answer to a question that you didn't even know you had to ask. Or, maybe you drop something and you forget about it, and then later you're like, oh, I should go find that. I should go pick that up. And right as you pick it up, right, you see something else that you had missed that you've been looking for forever. There's all these really random, seemingly random coincidences, synchronicities that happen in our lives. We're constantly receiving nudges from our inner voices, or the universe. We're receiving inspired action, but most of us ignore this. We write them off as random. We ignore the urge to follow inspired action, especially if it's outside of your regular routine or if it's not on your to-do list. And we tend to miss a lot because of that. The good thing is, even if you don't notice these nudges, they're still coming your way. I promise you. Because of that, you can choose at any moment to decide to start noticing and receiving. It's as simple as declaring to your inner voice, I am here, I am listening. I am open to receive guidance from you. Or simply ask for a sign. This is beautiful. There is no right or wrong. For example, I was out biking this weekend. This just happened. And I declared, I want to see a baby bunny. Seeing baby bunnies in the spring just lights me up so much. They are so stinking cute. And yet I've been actively searching for them this spring and I haven't seen any, and I was frustrated. So finally, I made a declaration on Saturday. I want to see a baby bunny. Show me the bunnies. Then, lo and behold, on Sunday, I popped onto Instagram, and my good friend Elizabeth, who has a horse ranch, and she was actually on the podcast, episode 31, talking about financial intuition. If you missed that, you should go back and listen. But she posted a baby bunny that she and her wife had found injured on their farm. And she said that she thought the baby bunny was about 2 weeks old. She posted a video and then of them like snuggling the bunny. And then she posted a video of her holding the cutest bunny ever and feeding him like watermelon celery juice out of like a little mini syringe, or not a syringe, but whatever will feed the little baby bunny. I was almost crying because it was so cute. Here I had set the declaration and I was expecting, and here's the thing about this type of work, about nudges, about inspired action, and about signs, is they won't necessarily come based on our expectation, which is why we have to literally open up to our brains to the myriad of ways that these will come to us and that we'll receive them. I wanted to see a baby bunny, and I was looking for and expecting to see one out on my bike ride or while I was on a walk. And I was like looking where I've seen them in the past, and I was like working hard to search for them. And then lo and behold, what happens? It shows up on Instagram. And it was way better, honestly, because I got to see the bunny really close up, and they were holding him and they had rescued him, and he was so sweet and so cute. So to me, that's perfection. Like, how beautiful, how fun that I asked for the bunny and the next day I saw one. Okay, here's another one. So Jen, she's a friend of mine and a fellow Business by Design coach. She randomly posted the other day about working with a copywriter. Her name's Kate, also a fellow coach. And she's like a top of the line copywriter. And I was like, saw that Jen posted, and Jen said, oh, I won a session with her. I'm like, oh man, how cool. That's so exciting. I personally am pretty sure I could not afford to work one-on-one with this copywriter, Kate. And yet, for some reason, once I saw Jen's post, it nudged me. I felt an urge to message Kate about her copywriting services. No, it did not make sense. She wasn't, to my knowledge, offering anything at the time. And I know her one-to-one pricing is way more than I can pay right now. And I also know that she specialized in launch copy and not messaging, or that's what I thought I knew. But despite all of that, it didn't make sense, right? Thinking process. I decided to choose the nudge, the urge over the logic, right? As obviously this is a very low risk situation, but I chose that and I messaged her and I said, hey, do you help business owners with their messaging and not just launches? And get this, she said, I do. In fact, I just low-key launched a new beta offer to help businesses get their core messaging down so that they know how to talk to and communicate their offers and their services to their audience. And I'm only working with 15 people. So it's a really small group. I haven't been promoting it. And if you're interested, here's the link. And the price was crazy reasonable. I'm sorry, what? I didn't know. I couldn't have logically known this. In fact, logically, it made no sense for me to ask her this. She didn't promote this, right? I didn't know it was something that she did. I didn't even exactly know what I needed, except that I wanted, to get some clarity around how I talk about this inner voice work and how I communicate it so you all can receive it really well and understand the value and how you can work it into your lives. And I didn't know any of that. And yet, I was willing to follow the nudge. And because of that, I got hooked up with exactly what I needed. Isn't that cool? I love stories like this. I have countless examples of these type of things, and I am sure you do as well. If you go into your memory bank, I'm sure you have a lot of examples that maybe you wrote off, maybe you didn't, of things where they just aligned, where things worked out, where you followed the nudge, where you asked for a sign and you received it in a way that you never expected. And the other thing that I think is really important when we're talking about this is you don't have to make this mean anything. And also you can make it mean whatever you want. I mean, does it truly matter if I see a baby bunny? I mean, I want to see one because they're so stinking cute. But I don't have to say, universe, show me a baby bunny so I know that my life I'm going to thrive and not fail. Right? If I didn't see the bunny, I wouldn't say, man, I suck. I'm out of alignment. I clearly am not connected to the universe. That's not really the point. And to me, I just like to think of all of this, of playful, as fun, as engaging, right? And connecting with something greater than you. And just looking for signs of all the synchronicities, all the alignment, all of the magic that actually is out there. I'm open to these synchronicities, right? And the beauty that my inner voice and universal wisdom communicate with me all the time. I believe in divine timing. I trust that I'm always being guided. And how can I trust this? How can I believe in all this? Because I look for it. You see, if you don't believe it, you won't see it. If you don't see it, you don't believe it. As with all of this, especially again in these last 3 podcast episodes, our belief is what will create our reality. I believe that I'm part of something bigger. I see evidence to support that. I choose alignment for myself because it helps me feel connected, grounded, and trusting in how life is unfolding. It serves me and my greater purpose to carry these beliefs. I choose to follow the breadcrumbs that the universe and my inner voice are constantly showing me. It doesn't matter if the breadcrumbs were already there. The point is that I ask for and choose to receive them as they are presented to me. And you can do the same. When was the last time you felt a nudge? Maybe you were working in the middle of the day and felt called to go outside. Maybe at that moment you saw a hawk fly by. That's kind of cool. Or maybe you felt inspired to bake cookies and then your neighbor did something nice for you and you realized that you made those cookies for your neighbor before you knew that that's what they were for. You followed the nudge. You followed the urge. You followed the inspired action. You looked for and asked for the signs and you were open to receive them. Think of the ways that you already have experienced beautiful synchronicities. Then, if you want, choose to listen and be guided more often. Ask and you shall receive. Ask for a sign. Ask to see an animal, a symbol, a red Tesla. I don't care. Then open yourself up to see it. Notice when you feel a nudge from within and to do or to not do something. And then practice following that. See where it takes you and how your world unfolds. This is universal guidance. This is your inner voice. This is you, for you are one with all. And remember, your expectation of how things are unfolding or what they should be or what you want to see is not the same as necessarily what you will see or receive. For example, I even had a friend I remember a while ago. It was so random. I love to use emoticons when I text with people. And I like to use weird random ones. And I texted her one day and I sent her, an emoticon of a butterfly. And she said, wow, I asked for the universe for a butterfly sign within 24 hours, she said, and that was 23 and a half hours ago. And here you texted me a butterfly. Okay, how cool is that? I was inspired to send that emoticon that I don't normally use and to send it to her of all people, and she had asked to receive it. That is divine alignment. But it also probably wasn't how she expected to see it. But look for the signs. They're everywhere. Whether you see it in the clouds, on someone's backpack, when you're reading a brochure at the dentist office, they are everywhere. And it's just so fun to experience life as this playful energy. If you have any fun stories, which I know you do, I would love for you to share them. You can send me an email. You can DM me on Instagram at Dana_Evans, or even post it as a review on iTunes. These stories bring me so much joy, and I know others love receiving them and hearing them, big and small as well. Have fun, my friends. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As always, if this would resonate with anyone you know, please share the episode. You can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans, or find me on my website at alignful.com.